Welcome, my brother, to Super Scene 60s, a Super Bowl pre-show. Let's get this started!
And then it comes to me and my microphone doesn't work. Is my microphone working now? Can anybody tell me? Yeah, that was an embarrassing start, but I hope you caught Superstream 60 on Saturday night. It was a fun time. I do want to recap some of the bets that were given out and give you some my thoughts on some of them. And then, of course, we'll talk about the Cardi B controversy for those of you who were part of that. And I'll kind of tell the tale because I think it's actually pretty fascinating what happened Saturday night all the way up to the end of the game. Millions of dollars changed hands. Okay, so before we get started, though, I want to kind of point out on the screen there, an old friend is back on the odds screen. Sport Trade is back. We're giving it an orange dot right now, but I think you'll find that the updates are very fast, under 5 seconds. And I'm not sure if the props got added in today or not. We had a little problem with removing commission on the props price. So I'm not sure if that got added in today or not, but they will be back shortly as well. But yeah, Sport Trade back on the screen finally. And one of the things, just to kind of like pull back the curtain a little, why this took so long is because we needed to change our architecture, what the odds screen runs on, because we need to support more exchanges and support the order books and support the kind of the big information picture that exchanges give us. It's not just the top of book price. So we did have to make some changes to the architecture, and Sport Trade, the way it was coming in, was not working with that. So we had to basically redo all of that and then make it so that it's more pliable data for later. All right, let's talk Super Bowl props. I'm going to put the prop odds screen up, or not the prop odds screen, the Superstream log from the other night. Let me just change my... There we go. Okay. I'm going to get myself out of the way here. I'm going to zoom this in. And see if I can make it a little bigger. Okay. All right. Show started out kind of odd. We were just getting player props from everyone, and I thought that was kind of odd because I really think like some of the more esoteric game props are where the value was. And what happens a lot with these live streams, and I said this there, I said this before on here, people give out long shot picks because they just don't want to face the criticism of being wrong. So you give out a long shot. If it's wrong, you're like, well, it was 60 to 1, it was 100 to 1. And then people are like, oh yeah, you're right, and if it hits though, you're a genius. So the longest hit in the broadcast from the other night was for Walker to get the MVP from Joe Brennan. Yeah, I mean, that was, even though it's usually QB, that was probably a decent price, and obviously the game script went exactly that way. Biggest negative odds given out was Gina's Ben Affleck to attend the Super Bowl. I wasn't quite sure on that one, especially since like that's kind of a known market. You either know he is or he isn't. There's so many people that would know if he was going to the Super Bowl. I did hear from some other sharp group that I was talking to about the whole Cardi B thing on Sunday morning, and they were all heavy on Mark Wahlberg not to attend. They said he had told something somewhere that he was watching the game at home this year. So yeah, that was interesting. So then, excuse me. So I thought overall, the picks were pretty good, but obviously the biggest controversy of the night came on this one, on the Cardi B not to appear at halftime. All right, let's see how this one plays out. Golden Pants is on, and he gives that as his prop play. Did he have solid reasoning for it? I think he was like, she won't want to upstage her partner, Stephon Diggs, playing in the game. Turns out they broke up last week. That's another bit of information I didn't need in my brain, but I got just because I was Googling around Cardi B. He had pretty solid, but in the background, in my green room that I can see as I'm running the show, I see David Hill going, "What?" You know, he's talking. I see in the private chat, he says, "That was my play." So I thought, oh, this would be great. I'll bring him up, and I brought him up, and he had very solid reasoning as well. That Bad Bunny had performed the song that he duetted with Cardi B, but he had performed it with Shakira at another Super Bowl. And that there was a lot of reasons why Cardi B wouldn't be performing with him. Now, David Hill says on the stream, good to 99, which he later said it was just, he was a little carried away there. Turns out it wasn't good to 99, even though it won. And so it wasn't too long after the stream that I'm kind of winding down. It's a lot to run that for 4 or 5 hours, and there's a lot of weeks of planning that go into that broadcast. And I decided to check on current prices on all of these Kalshi props, because we had a few. We had the Ben Affleck one, we had the Cardi B one. Dustin Galker gave out halftime show length, not over 15 minutes. So yeah, we had quite a few. And I was also looking to see if there was any other markets they had up there. Well, I log in and I noticed that Cardi B not to appear at halftime is 48. And I'm like, ooh, that's a lot of movement back. And instantly I thought that was absolutely some sharp information, because it's the only other thing I could think of would be is if she had said something. And so I started Googling around, and it turns out at the flag football or Fanatics event, I forget which one, she was on a red carpet, and they asked her about doing a duet with Bad Bunny at Super Bowl. And she said, quote, "That would be cool." And people interpreted that as her that saying, yes, that's going to happen. She said that would be cool. And that was leading some of the action. So then I started watching the order flow, and it was a lot of sub $100 action. And so I was watching the order book for just Cardi B, and yeah, it was offers were being taken down at $30, $40, $50 a pop, not at massive, a couple thousand like you would see from sharp bettors. So now I start to think, okay, maybe there's something here. Maybe people thinking that Cardi B is performing based on that would be cool are getting in on it. So I chunked up a decent amount and moved the market. I moved it back to 54 because I basically ate up all the liquidity. My camera is slightly angled and it's bothering me. It was bothering me on the live stream too. Okay, so the next morning I wake up. The first thing I do is I check the Cardi B market. It's back to like 55, 56 to the no. I'm like, okay, sounds good. I get a DM from David Hill, and he's like, "Hey, just to let you know, there's a big sharp group on the other side of this." So then I start to figure out, okay, let me figure out what the sharp group could be on, why they're on that. So I start Googling around some more. I found there's a post from Saturday of a Polymarket account that was just opened up that has $170,000 or whatever on all these different artists to not appear, but Cardi B is yes and Lady Gaga is yes. And everybody else is no. And apparently people were saying, you know, well, that's definitely insider information, so I'm going to tail that. And then a couple hours after that, I got contacted by China Maniac. I've talked to him frequently. He's a good guy. And he said he's part of a group that's on the yes, and he feels they have completely solid information. He would be shocked if they're wrong. And he's like, you know, just letting you know as a courtesy. So then I was like, okay, well, maybe I need to get off this spot. So I sold back some at 53 and at 52, but I still had a very big position on Cardi B no, because I was like, all signs point to no. Even there's this suspect evidence to the yes. So it goes back and forth all day long. I'm checking this. In fact, to the detriment of my other prop betting, I had the fewest number of props that I've ever bet on the Super Bowl this year because I was obsessed by this Cardi B market. And I was talking to sharps on both sides. And I was talking to, one of the hedges I decided to do after talking with China was they were also heavily on Travis Scott not to appear. And he was trading at 59 at the time. And I'm like, well, that's a decent hedge for me, because if they're right, then I'll win something on Travis Scott rather than, wind down this Cardi B position. So I took a big position on Travis Scott to the no. And so this goes on all day. I'm hearing back and forth from David Hill. He's down in Costa Rica, of course. I'm hearing back and forth from China. He's at the game. And the money keeps coming in. There is a lot of action being traded on this market. And the numbers the order flow has ticked up to a couple hundred per bet now, not just, nickels and dimes. And I'm watching it. And every once in a while, if it dipped to like 45, I would take a bit. It got all the way down to 38. That's the lowest I saw it go. But it went all the way up to 63. I'm talking about the no market here, to 63. So it's like it just oscillated around all day. And the total volume traded on that market, which included everyone else that was possibly going to appear, kept going higher and higher and higher. From the point of the live stream on Saturday night to when kickoff started, the market had doubled. There was twice as much money being wagered on it by game time than had been by the live stream. And that was $32 million. So it was a big market. Anyway, the halftime show starts. I'm watching with my wife. My wife goes, "There she is." I go, "Which one?" And as I look, Cardi B is lip syncing, and she's on that porch scene towards the beginning. And I'm like, the other guys were right. And I watch and I'm watching Bad Bunny, whatever. And then towards the end, I'm like, all right, let me see, it's probably trading at like 99. No, it was trading at like 50. Now I was like, did people not watch did not see her? Like, was that not her? And I said to my wife, "Are you sure that was her?" She's like, "Absolutely sure that was her." And I'm like, should I get out of it? And so then I quickly read through the house rules on the market on Kalshi. And when you're skimming something, you like, and then if there's bullet points, you read the bullet points. So I actually skimmed past the top, read to the bullet points, and I should have brought it up here on the stream, but you can go on Twitter and find it. The final bullet point was, if they're just dancing on the stage as in the background, that does not count. Like, well, that's exactly what she was doing. But if you look in the full house rules, it says, will this person perform? And then in parentheses, it says singing, dancing, something else. So it's contradictory house rules at Kalshi. Now, I don't know. This might be why Pizzola didn't bring this up on Circle Back yesterday. Kalshi looks real bad. It's a bad look for Kalshi on this one. They have rules that are absolutely contradictory of each other. And so I go back, the market is still live. And I'm like, I don't know what to do. I'm kind of paralysis by analysis in watching this. And then we're just at the very end, like Bad Bunny spikes the ball and they're starting to go to commercial, and it spikes into the 90s. And I go, okay, I got to sell here. So I put in a limit order at 95 and it got filled right away. And so I put in a limit order at 97 for the rest of my stake. I'm like, I'll take the 3% haircut in order to just not have to deal with, controversy on this one. And so, yeah, it took a minute, but it got filled as well. Now, I don't know who the suckers were that bought the yes at, or, laid the 97 that it was no. But anyway, that happens. The market continues to trade through the rest of the game, finally gets suspended by Kalshi. And then, of course, as you guys probably know, the next day, they rule that they're grading the market at 74 no, 26 yes. So I did pretty good in beating that with 95 and 97 no, but it left a bad taste in a lot of people's mouths, especially since Polymarket graded it as yes, she did perform. So it was one of those situations where both sharps, both with great insider knowledge or whatever, or good sources of information, were both right. She yes performed and no, she didn't perform. So anyway, millions and millions and millions were riding on that. Some of these sharps go big when it's a situation like this, where they think they have perfect information. And what Kalshi allows people to do is, get down on that kind of information. Now, this was the first time I ever played a culture bet on Kalshi. And, it's a little scary. It's a little crazy. It's a little hairy. Would I do it again? If I had good information, I would, but it felt a little dirty. I stay away from novelty props for the most part because the limits are so low. But the limits on this were huge. So yeah, it was something. 1 second. My dog couldn't get in the door and was whining. Okay. Let's. Cardi B no equals loss. Why is it green? Because it won. I will stick to Profit and Novig. Well, you can, but I don't know if they're going to be around much longer. So good luck with that. Do you think these types of markets are worth it when there is so much insider trading? I don't know. I would like to have seen them close this market at some point. 24 hours before the event, this market closes. That wouldn't stop insider trading. But, from what I've heard anecdotally is like there was a lot of prevention measures in place for the rehearsal of this show. For instance, the music was never blared into the stadium. All the dancers had earpieces for rehearsals. So nobody actually could hear the rehearsal going on. I don't know if that's true or not, but that's what I heard. There are a lot of prevention measures that can be taken, but should there even have to be prevention measures? I don't know. I'm not a big fan of betting on the draft, as a lot of people are, because that's also insider information. Somebody knows the answer. And yes, their answer might change if this person goes first and this person goes second. Maybe it affects the third choice. Sure, it does, but somebody still knows that information. And the way Vegas gets around that is they halt trading 24 hours before the event. In something like the Super Bowl, and there's so much day of game trading, and like I said, there was a good 15, 20 million that came in on the day of game. Kalshi probably wants to maximize fees. Yeah, Tree people had to sign an NDA. Yeah. And performing in a Super Bowl halftime show, absolutely, there's NDAs involved and information, things like that. But then there are stadium workers, right? There are, people that might be setting up for radio broadcast in the press box. I know somebody when I was in Las Vegas. They were a production assistant for Westwood Radio, and they heard stuff. They didn't use that information, but they heard it. So, yeah, it's very information. It's very I forget what the word I was going to say. It's very possible that things like that happen. Another thing I wanted to point out here is not that we have bad beats, but team with a longest gross punt that actually tied. Both teams had a longest of 55 yards. What are the odds that that's going to push? So Jason Scavone pushed on his prop. That's a rough one. Jessica Brands over a sack for Barmore. New England really, I think they only had the one sack on Darnold. So that was a rough one. And it was Milton Williams, of course, the one that she says, oh, there's no value in that this year because he's heavily bet. I wanted to point out Rufus's Drake May over 222 and a half passing yards. Man, did that look dead through three quarters. I'm like, wow, Rufus put up a stinker. No, Drake May just throws over that in the fourth quarter alone. One of the great kind of, all of a sudden the passes started working. So, yeah. And the other one was Frank B's Henderson over 3.5 receiving yards. Last play of the game, that one hits. Henderson had his first one was for -2 yards. His second one was for 4 yards, but he already had the -2, so now he was only +2. And then he goes for like 18 or 19 on the last play of the game. And Frank cashes that. Rex had already cashed his. Henderson was up here. Henderson got 19 rushing yards, so that was a win for Doug Kazarian. So had a lot of close wins, had a lot of close losses. Another bad beat was Zach White, under 1.5 interceptions. It was ruled a fumble, and then they changed it to an interception on the turned out to be a pick six. So yeah, lost that one. Under 7.5 punts. Yeah, that one in the first half. That was kind of crazy. And I think I had said when I gave it out here or somewhere else, it's not like New England's going to punt 8 times again. They punted 8 times again for the third straight game. Crazy. Okay. How'd you guys do? Throw in your comments there how you did on the Super Bowl betting. Like I said, fewest prop bets I've ever had. I think I was around 10. But the Cardi B was mid 4 figures, but it was my largest stake, and it was crazy to have that much on a novelty prop of all things. NBA streets are the best. Jack, what are we betting once All-Star starts in a couple days? Man, I am so looking forward to the All-Star break. I'm burnt out. I am exhausted. It's been a rough stretch here from September to now. And I definitely wanted to kind of hold on as long as I could, get to the NBA All-Star break, which is generously long, to help rejuvenate a little bit. So for me, All-Star break, I am probably not going to see me as much on the Discord, or I don't want to plan to do any streams during the All-Star break. I don't really think there's a reason to. Hockey's on the Olympic break. If you want to bet Olympics, there were some good curling tips there from our guy Ben. Hockey men's competition appears like it'll be a good Olympics. You could probably bet on that. Keep in mind that international shootouts go longer, I think. There's some Oh, I know what it is. You can reuse the same shooter in international shootouts. So anyway, yeah, I plan to kind of take it easy for the next week or so once the All-Star break hits. Need it. Absolutely need it. It's been a long year. I also, we're going to reduce our YouTube content into the off season here. I'm going to go with 2 videos a month rather than 4. So that'll kind of take a little bit of load off for me because I have to, write, record, edit. I don't do the editing, but I kind of review the editing. I'll go through many drafts. So yeah. Oh, one thing, we didn't have to pay out on our promo, which we didn't really advertise all that well, but it was, if the word unabated is said during the Super Bowl, new users get $60 first month. I think we'll go a little bit bigger on that. We had planned to put it up on Kalshi as a mention market and then financially hedge against it so that we could offer a much better deal, and maybe something like a free month for everyone. But Kalshi said they couldn't put it up, and then they put up like Emerald City Pickpocket or something like that as one of their mention markets. I mean, like, yeah, I think they kind of brushed us off there. Okay, let's see. 3 unanswered scores was free money. Yes, it was. It was the first 3 scores were 3 unanswered. That was a good one from Chris Andrews. Rufus didn't really give us any clarification on that one when he was on, but I know his mind was in a million different places. Did well, had Seahawks futures. Yes. If you were a Massey Peabody fan through the year, you know that Seahawks were being hyped by Rufus early. I saw some 20 to 1s, 15 to 1, 10 to 1s, all cash. Very good job. Dixon under 57.5 longest and no touchbacks was a crazy sweat. Absolutely. So yeah, that might be the sweat of the game right there. Was that parlayed together, Trav? Let me know if that was parlayed together. No touchbacks, he's really good with that, right? But there were some that looked like they were rolling to the end zone. There was the one that Seattle downed, and you've seen so many times this year where so many guys get in there and somebody's got their foot on the line when they touch it. So yeah, they executed that perfectly. And then under 57.5 when his longest was 57. That is some good handicapping. Very good. Not parlayed, he said. Okay. Really good night. Hit a fluke 20 to 1 prop. But good on top of that, regardless. Well, what was the 20 to 1 prop? We want to know what the 20 to 1 prop was. I thought maybe since we had so many of them this year, somebody was going to hit one of these. Adam Bjorn came close with all 3 of these guys to get a anytime TD, and he got 2 of them. Or no, he got 1 of them. Walker's was called back. Trying to see if any of these other ones. Tom came within a Barner tush push of getting his SGP, and then he got hooked on his 420 blazing it Seattle play. I don't know if you guys caught this on the stream, but WBG, let me get my head out of the way here. WBG, part of Vegas Matt's crew, they do hang out with Rob Gronkowski. And if he said this prop came from Rob Gronkowski, it absolutely came from Gronk. So Darnold over 225.5 yards passing. Honestly, the game state just didn't dictate it towards the second half. They basically just ran it. And I think Darnold was a decent number, but not over. Funny enough, the 20 to 1 was a punt down inside the 5. I like those odds for a punt down inside the 5. I love those odds. Yeah, that was really good. Rufus did well on futures this year, Seahawks, and he got Indiana at 40-1. Yes, he did. It's good to be Rufus. What can I say? Had Seattle defense for the last TD on the FanDuel TD promo. Painful to think that the split might have been on the 6 million. Imagine there was a lot of people in that contest, to be honest with you. But yeah, that's a shame that one didn't hit. Although people that had like Walker last TD, that they're probably pretty upset too. All right. Suns, by the way, on his 3 unanswered, he got -143. Well, that's a bet all day long. That is absolutely going to be a good one. Yeah, totally. Here you go. Drake May under 38.5 and 37.5 rush yards. Yeah, so I'm not sure too many people lost on Drake May under or over rushing yards, except for Matt Landis, who unfortunately gave out probably a very consensus 35.5. They're worth still 37.5s out there when he gave that out. I just went by what he said. But yeah, so let me go a little bit more on the Drake May. Drake May is one where I did not play this one. I had intended to play this. My first conversation with Frank B back 2 weeks ago now on Super Bowl props, he really liked Drake May under because of how skewed it was, because of recent performance. But the more I looked into it, and the more I looked into, well, if the shoulder's hurting him, he might try to find a scramble. If the game script is hurting him and he can't run the ball, he might try to scramble. If, as teams get further behind, passing increases, but quarterback scrambling increases. Seattle is one of the few teams that does not use a spotter in the backfield. So if he gets past the line of scrimmage, he probably has some extra room to run. So I talked myself out of this one. And Frank had said that he really thought it could get up to 40. I could have played on Kalshi. I could have played the no on the 40 plus at -125, I think it worked out to be, which was actually not bad. I probably should have played it, but I was too busy firing money into Cardi B. So yeah, I didn't play this one. I could see both sides of the discussion, but it was nice because he got to 37 and then he rushed again for 5 yards. And I was like, well, now he's really over. And they got called back with a penalty. So he got back to 37. And of course, the Sam Darnold rushing yards, he got all the way up to 10. His line was 5.5. And then he on the botched handoff there, he just laid down in the backfield, and that took him back down to 5. Womp womp. The Andy Wilder and Captain Jack streak continues. Yes, we are both now 9-1 on Super Streams. And just to pat myself on the back, I'm now 3-0 on Pizzola's prop extravaganza. So I expect an invite back next year. I'll give Andy a little bit credit. He picked a prop at plus odds. He picked Seattle over 3.5 sacks, which won. That one might have won in the first half too. So he picked a good one. I'll remind people the only prop that Andy's ever lost on Superstream was a 40-1 on over 8.5 sacks in the Cincinnati LA Super Bowl a few years back. So yeah. Andy's always going to be coming back on Superstream. And of course, he was there when we had the Rex Byers incident. I don't know what to say about that. If you didn't watch the end of this live stream, go all the way to the end. Watch when Rex Byers appears. He was I could see him in the green room. I could see his camera, and he was he was just all over the place while I was waiting to bring him on. In fact, I kept waiting because he was off camera, and then he'd come back. And he gets on, and everything to Rex was hilarious that night. And I don't know why. That's his personal thing. But then he kept, I think he was trying to fight Andy and I for some reason. Like he was like dropping F-bombs and saying, you guys don't know anything. And then the last thing he said was, I'm not going to suck your pee-pee or something like that. I don't know what was going on there. And then I was like, all right, I got to take him off because I don't know where this is going. But luckily we were 4.5 hours in at that point. I was ready to call it quits. And so, yeah. Drew Dinsick had mentioned shutout at 50-1, and that had legs. That definitely had legs. All right, I think that's like one more comment here. I had some Seattle futures hedged off with some no Seattle over 45.5 parlay. No Seattle. Oh, okay. And Seattle not to win, right? And then over 45.5. Okay. Yeah, I mean the total almost got there in terms of the which would have been a bad beat for people because that was a under game all day long, and then right towards the end, all of a sudden we just get a flurry of scoring. See, New England's driving. That would take the total over. Our consensus plays were obviously Seattle, the under, and they both won again this year. So yeah. Okay. Need a Narcotics Anonymous meeting. Yeah, I don't know. I think it was all recreational stuff. If it was stuff, I don't know. Any new niche sports coming up? Doesn't college baseball and USFL start soon, or XFL? What do they call it? I forget. Yes, they do. Will we have them on our screen? I don't know. We're working on getting soccer finished ahead of the World Cup right now. So soccer has been a big priority. We'll see if we can get some of the minor sports leagues up there to scratch an itch for those who need it scratched. Okay, this is going to be the only live stream this week, and I might do one next week, but I probably won't do one until we're coming back from the NBA All-Star break. So enjoy this post-Super Bowl. It's always a good time to kind of catch up on your record keeping, as well as figure out who you owe what to and who owes you money, and also figure out, okay, let's look at this NFL season and what went well, what didn't, what should I change for next year, and then get ready for the spring sports, March Madness, NBA, NHL, as we head towards the summertime, and hopefully summertime gets here soon. That'll do it, everyone. Thanks. Have a good day, and I will see you next week, possibly.